Welcome to J2. Jackie, Jacob, Jackie. It's been a while. 2 months? Since
probably.
fair time. Yeah, since fair time.
Probably. What did we do last time?
We did Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy last time.
Oh, that was fun.
That was fun.
I know, but we didn't get tickets. You know, that was actually kind of a bunch of
You
bull
know,
crap,
yeah, I'm
not
glad we
gonna
did.
lie.
I'm glad we haven't done a video since then, because that was a bunch of bull honky. But thank you to everybody who watched that video, because it got a whole bunch of watches.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
Everybody, they're like, oh, let's have a contest. So we'll give you tickets to meet
Big and Rich.
Big and Rich.
And Cowboy Troy.
If you make a video like Jacob and Jackie did.
And no one did, so
Nobody
we should have
made
won.
Yeah, we should have.
Anyways, that's in the past.
It's not.
It's one of our
still mad.
ghosts of the past.
Oh.
Segue. Into
I looked at you and you're like,
segue. We have a lot of stuff to talk about later on, but we're going to talk about something else today.
Okay.
But, so you're Yula now.
I'm a Yula.
We did Peter Pan,
Pan.
that'll be another episode. We'll talk about life and all that kind of stuff. But today, October is upon us, which means it's super scary time. Halloween time!
You're welcome, Kara.
So scary.
She's been saying that all the time. I love Halloween! Don't look at my stories.
I wasn't.
You were cheating.
I wasn't. I was pulling up mine.
Stop cheating.
I'm not cheating.
So, it's Halloween time.
Halloween time.
Which
I'm not
means
looking.
scary stories.
So what we're going to do is we're going to tell 4 stories each, and we have to guess which 3 are true and what the false one is.
Yes, I'm going to kind of
false
summarize a
Right,
little
that's
bit.
that's what I'm kind of doing.
Because I'm like, I don't want to do it play by play necessarily. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah. So do you want to do like all 4 stories and then we guess, or do you want to like alternate stories?
Let's alternate stories.
And say if they're true or not after we say them.
Yeah.
But we don't give the answers until the end.
Okay, deal.
Okay. All right. I'm glad we planned that.
We didn't.
You
talk
just watched
about
the planning
anything.
right there.
Yeah.
Boom.
This is how we do it.
Fort Mifflin.
Ooh.
Built in 1771, Fort Mifflin is the country's only Revolutionary War battlefield that is still intact. There are 14 restored buildings on the grounds on the Delaware River, and reportedly plenty of spirits from the past. Among the ghosts said to haunt the fort is a screaming woman whose cries are so loud that the Philadelphia Police Department have been called to investigate, only to find no one was there. And there's also been numerous children and dogs spotted as well.
Okay. And so I'm supposed to guess if that's true or false?
True or false?
I say that's true.
Okay.
That's a lot of detail.
There's a lot of detail.
But we're not actually
Not till
saying
the
it
end.
until the end.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what
So
you're
that's your true one.
Okay.
You think that one's true? Okay, your turn.
Okay, so this story is, okay. So there's this boy, and he's in this house, and is living with his aunt.
Okay.
And he's sitting there watching TV, and here's a knock on the door. And it's a cop that they know, it's a family friend. He says, next door said that you're having a party. I came to check it out. This kid's 13. He's like,
Classic
I'm not
party
having
age.
a party.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not having a party. Niece cries upstairs when the cop leaves. He goes to get his niece. There's no bottle to be found. Goes downstairs, makes the bottle, comes back up. Bottle's in front of the crib.
Ooh.
I know. So then he's like, what the heck is going on? So then there's another knock at the door. Next door says, you're having a party. He's 13 years old. Nobody's at the house. Blah, 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 blah. Baby cries, goes upstairs, and the baby's suspended in the air. Okay.
I'm glad you put your phone down to really show.
I know. I wanted to
the
show
length
you
of the
that
baby.
the baby went. Oh, it's not the length.
Oh, that's what you were doing.
It's like up under the
up under the. Okay.
armpits.
Okay.
So is baby suspended. Kid's like, what the heck? Turns around to look because he hears a noise. Turns back. Baby's laying in the crib sleeping.
Ooh.
I know. Whatever, goes downstairs. There's a tea party completely laid out in the kitchen. The kettle is going. There's all this stuff going on. And he's like, what the heck? Goes back up there, is pushed out of the bedroom by a spirit, gets the baby, calls the aunt, house haunted. Months later, finds out that next door, where the phone calls were coming from, they uncovered 4 bodies, bones of bodies, and he thinks that they're the ones that were haunting because there was a tunnel from that house to his house. Yeah.
I'm going to say that one is true as well. There's a lot of detail. I feel like Whatever one
Yeah.
doesn't have details, the one we're gonna be like, oh, okay.
That's so true.
That's so true. So true on that one. All right.
Okay.
We'll find out at the end.
Okay.
Okay. And there also is like spooky music you can hear right now, which is crazy right now.
Oh.
Can you believe that spooky
Can you hear
music?
it? Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Here we go.
Okay.
Story number 2.
Okay.
Okay. Overlook Motel. It was not born. It was made
The hotel
in
was born.
1883.
Oh!
What?
Good things were born in 1883.
What else was born in?
Oh, shit. Just kidding. I was born in 1983.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Oh,
100 years
man.
later, you were born.
Oh, okay. Wow.
The Overlook Hotel sports many ghosts, including those of children as well as older men and women. The older men in the past, it started around 1915. They started going crazy around the winter time and killed their wife and son. This would happen almost every 20 years until it finally ended in 1975. Yet, residents of the hotel see their ghost, with a few rooms really reminiscing on the ghost stories and seeing them from time to time.
Wow. I say that's true. It's a lot of detail also.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll
Okay.
see.
We will see. Okay. Next story. So there's a guy who decides to buy a house in like Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
And so he buys this house and he's living away from, what he's used to and whatever. And he decides that his like number one thing that he's always wanted to do is buy a car, this special car that he's always liked, this Camaro.
Okay.
So he buys the Camaro, and since he buys the Camaro, all these crazy things are happening. He's hearing things in his house, he's hearing the car start, and he goes outside because he thinks someone's stealing his car, and nothing's going on, etc., etc. Then one night he hears a noise, he and his girlfriend, he goes out there, and there's somebody in the car, so he's freaking out, he goes to the car, it's a ghost. Eventually the ghost works his way into the house, is pushing him against walls and whatnot, and then they sage the car, and the car's no longer haunted.
Interesting. I'm going to say that one's true too, because I feel like people have like connections with their cars.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was like, yeah.
Okay.
So true.
Okay.
Alright, my next one.
Okay.
Munnsville Penitentiary. During its more than 100 years in operation, the Munnsville Penitentiary in West Virginia was one of America's most violent correctional facilities and the final stop for almost 1,000 criminals. The prisoners lived there in cramped quarters, which led to riots. Many men were hanged or killed in the electric chair, while others were murdered by other prisoners. The prison closed in 1995, but according to some, the tortured spirits are still behind bars and in the bowels of the prison and may be seen or heard on a tour.
True.
Okay.
Prison ghost stories are the best.
Absolutely, especially
I think so.
if they're like maximum security, death row inmates, like those are the ones that would like stick around and like really mess with people.
Yeah, because they were really messed with.
Yes, and they were just really messed up in general.
Right?
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
I say that one's true.
Well, I mean, that means you're gonna think my last one's false. You better be ready for that.
Oh my gosh, 1, 2. Okay, number 3. So this family of 3 moves to a farm, and because this landlord tells this guy, hey, I have this house, the renters just like all of a sudden moved out, and I need people to rent it, and so they go in there, there's still food on the table. I know. Still food on the
That
table.
landlord.
I know. I thought that was weird too.
Yeah.
Still food on the table. All their belongings are still in the house. Oh, that soup really did hurt. I'm really having a hard time right now. Oh, okay. Trying to keep it together. So, food on the table and everything. This girl wakes up in the middle of the night, and there's a guy with the top hat. I know. And she's like, what the heck's the guy with the top hat doing here? And like, apparently, some people had been murdered in the barn, and so she like go out to the barn, and then there's this really like scary spirit that starts to like walk after her, and the guy in the top hat steps in front and like stops the other guy. 2 spirits. And the one in the top hat was like protecting her, and I think that's it.
I'm gonna say that one's false.
Okay.
Just because of the top hat, I feel like that. I don't
Top
know why.
hat's a little
I just
bit-
don't believe in top hats. I don't think they exist.
Wow. Okay, Abe Lincoln is not your guy.
So that's my false one. So this is my
Okay.
last one.
Okay.
Jerome, Arizona.
Okay.
It's a former copper mining town with a paranormal reputation that dates back to the Wild West. The town is now home to 400 residents, down from 15,000 in its heyday. That's crazy. But legend has it there are plenty most ghostly residents from the days of mining accidents and gunfights. So maybe it's closer to 900 or 1,000 with all the ghosts around. They take tours of that every day, and they go in the mine, and a lot of creepy stuff happens.
False.
Okay. Your last story.
Okay, my last story. I say that one's false, though. My last story, well, I have a lot of text messages. Okay, so the spirit's in this house and is coming after the mom. This kid is like 8, or she has a kid that's 8. It's coming after the mom. As the kid grows up, he's finally like, okay, I've had enough. Like, it needs to stop coming after my mom. Like, would like kind of like sexually come after her and stuff like that. Yeah, kind of creepy. Anyways, he's like, I've had enough. He's like, stop bugging my mom. Come after me if you're going to come after anybody. And it got super vicious. Would scratch him all the time. And still, to this day, he still has problems. Has gone to like the doctor and stuff like that and tried to figure it out. Tried to like sage the house. It won't go away. Blah, 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 blah. Still happens to the dude where like he'll just be talking to someone in a house and all of a sudden he'll like drop to his knees like in pain. And he's being scratched and stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I say that one's true.
Okay.
All right. So, moment of truth.
All right.
My fake one was the Overlook Motel, the second one.
Oh, the one that was made when I was born?
Yeah, that was actually The Shining.
Oh.
That's what it was. Yeah, The
Okay,
Shining Motel.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you just kind of like moved.
I didn't even honestly.
You
I
changed a little.
didn't even write anything down. I just looked at my phone like I pretended like I wrote stuff down,
Oh
and
my
I
God.
made that all up as I went.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow.
I knew
Very
like the
good.
name of the hotel, and
Very
that's all I
good.
knew. So yeah, that was the false one.
Improv City here. Yeah, have you ever done a musical with the dude?
There's a lot of improv that has to
all
be
the time.
done.
Yeah, improv all the time.
Yeah.
So my fake story was the one with the car.
Was it another Stephen King one?
It was a Ferrari, not a Camaro.
Oh.
It's a true story though.
Is it? The Ferrari is? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, dang, that's crazy.
I
was thinking,
I
what's
changed
that
a
Stephen
little
King
bit,
movie?
so that's why I thought it was funny that you did it. Because
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, I cheated too. Because I can't, how do you, I don't know.
It's hard. I kind of looked up some stuff, but like, what's that Stephen King movie that he made that like was about the car?
Oh.
See,
I
that's
know
what I thought
you're
you were
talking
thinking
about.
at first, because I thought
Yeah.
when you changed like when you said Rhode Island, I was like maybe she meant Maine.
I'm actually
And it
not
was
sure
supposed
where
to-
the dude lives,
Yeah.
so that could be false too.
That's
But I think
crazy.
they said
But that
Rhode
is true
Island.
in a Ferrari though, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I
His
would
car
be
was
stuck
haunted.
with Ferrari because like that probably costs a lot of money.
Yeah. His car was haunted by the guy that owned it before, and he died, and he loved his car, and so he was haunting the car.
Interesting.
I know.
Very interesting.
I thought that was crazy.
Yes, yes. Well, we both tricked each other.
I know.
Which is good.
Oh, trickery.
Trickery,
I'm
Doc.
not surprised.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about this beforehand, but like,
Yeah.
what's your like scariest real life moment that you've had?
Okay. Like ghost related.
Yeah, ghosts.
kinda.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to say, and you're gonna remember this because it was you, me, and our friend Cody.
Mm-hmm.
Were you gonna tell this
No,
story?
no, you
okay.
can. No.
Okay, I bet you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what he's doing. So, yeah, you, me, and our friend Cody were, they lived in an apartment over on McKinley, and across the street was an abandoned house, and we, of course, we were all into ghost stuff and, like, paranormal exploring and all that kind of stuff, and getting EVPs and blah, 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 and so we decided to go over and investigate, and so we did, and we were asking if there were any, like, spirits in the room, etc., and Cody and I were in the kitchen area of the house, and Jacob was in the living room area of the house, but we could see each other. Or what I could only assume.
Those ghosts are coming back.
Seriously, I need to stop eating that stuff. It's so hot. But they were like definite, like we could see Jacob and everything, and what I only assume was the kitchen and living room. But anyways.
Close, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, so I generally look at the camera. I think I'm not because I'm sideways. But anyway, so we were asking questions about what was in the house and stuff like that. Cody and I in the kitchen area, and Jacob was asking other things in the living room area. And so keep in mind, like, it wasn't windy that night. Not that I recall. It wasn't windy that night. There was there were leftover things in the house. It's like people just like left, but it was like wood walls and wood floor and everything,
Right.
if I recall right.
Yeah, and the
Right.
one thing that like I remember like before we get to this part was like we were about to go into it,
Yeah.
and I remember asking like, "You think there's asbestos in here? Should we get masks?"
yeah,
and something like dropped. We're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we'll go get masks."
Yeah.
So like, yeah, that no, go ahead.
Oh gosh,
yeah.
I forgot that.
Yeah, I'll never forget that part. For
Yeah. So, anyways, we're asking questions and everything. It's not a windy night. It's, you know, there's no, like, windows that were, like, open. There's no way that any draft or, like, anything could come through.
Mm-hmm.
And Cody and I were standing there, and all of a sudden we just hear this whoosh, like, come in between us. And we both turned around and looked at each other, and we're like, did you see that? And he's like... Or did you hear it? And I'm like, yeah, I heard it. Did you hear it? And blah, blah, blah. We asked Jacob, and he didn't
No, I didn't
hear it because he was in the living room. And so Cody and I were kind of freaked out. And then all of a sudden he's talking about this pain that he has on his back. And so we're like, well, that's really weird, you know, whatever. And so we get Jacob, we go outside, we lift Cody's shirt. And sure enough, there's like three or four scratch marks on his back. He was in the middle of the room. He didn't rub up against anything. I didn't scratch him.
There were no tree branches
no.
like when we got out.
Yeah. It was so weird.
It was
and
weird.
like there's no way to like explain that.
Yeah.
Like, and I have a picture of it and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's at, but oh yeah, that was kind of scary.
That was definitely scary.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. Oh, you think there's asbestos? And then, all right, yeah, there is probably. Yeah.
Gosh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That part.
Yeah, because then we went to Walmart, got masks.
Oh, okay.
So like, I'll probably tell another story another time, but like, this was probably the first time I ever got scared and like actually started believing in ghosts. Was we used to take family vacations, my mom, my sister, and then my cousins and stuff, ghost hunting. So that's what we used to do for fun during the summer break.
Yeah.
The first time we went, it was like my junior year, I believe, or sophomore year. One of the 2 years, I don't know. I didn't believe in any of it. We went to this place in Weeping Water, Nebraska. I think it was just in the news not long ago for like something good. But Weeping Water just sounds creepy.
Yeah,
and so there's this place called the Witch's Bridge. And it was a place where I guess this witch got hung and said that she was going to curse the bridge for the rest of eternity during a full moon on a half day. At a half, like, or odd hour, odd day, odd month, whatever, odd. Then you could hear her, like, swinging. You would either hear her swinging, or you would see your own reflection hanging, and then she'd come get you. Now, that part we probably didn't believe, but it was just like, alright, that's cool, you know, whatever.
Okay.
The weirdest part, though, is, like, we were there, and, like, no one was smoking at the time, but we took pictures, and in the picture, you could see, like, smoke of an outline of a witch. It was super cool, it was super weird. And another time, like, my cousin heard something swinging underneath the bridge. So he took the video camera, like, in a little hole thing and looked down. And at the moment he looked down, every electronic, all the cars, everything just turned off, like, died right away.
That's crazy.
It was insane. And that was, like, probably the craziest trip I've ever been on. We went to Witch's Bridge. And then Villisca, Iowa, which is the Axe Murder House, which was a crazy place in itself and probably could take like 15 minutes just to talk about it. But yeah, I started believing after that. But yeah, so there you go. That's my first experience with the paranormal.
Right. I remember when we were seniors, we broke into, ironically, the Front Street house where SMP has their haunted house.
Yes.
And we were walking upstairs, and to be sure, actually, I should preface, we went to Walmart beforehand, bought all new flashlights. All new flashlights, all new batteries, because, you know, we wanted our little experience to be, like, perfect.
Right.
And so we went through there, and I remember we were upstairs, like, you know when you go to the top of the stairs and you have the hallway that goes this way? We went to the right and up those little stairs. Mm-hmm. It was that hallway over there. And as we passed through a room, all the flashlights turned off. And we were like, what the hell? You know, and everything, because I had one of them. I think my friend Travis had another one. I don't remember. We had like 3 or 4, and all of them turned off at once. And I'm like, you turned it off, you know? And he's like, no, I didn't. And like, sure enough, like we went to try to turn them like on and off, and they would not do anything.
Yeah.
That was pretty scary. That was before like we all had cell phones.
Yeah.
Or we did, and they were like little Nokia phones where the screen was like this big.
Right, and it didn't light up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you turn the light on, and it's like.
Yeah.
Like barely.
crazy. Yeah, the paranormal and everything is nuts, and like that's probably one thing I'll never lose a passion for is just like looking up that stuff, and yeah, it's just crazy.
And scary movies.
Scary movies.
That's
yeah.
my passion.
Yeah, for sure.
Jacob knows he gets sick of it. He's like, "Can we watch something else other than a scary movie?"
No.
Okay, fine.
It's usually no. We're gonna watch scary
Whatever.
movies.
Whatever. I've been pretty good.
You have been. Yeah. That's because there hasn't been many new ones.
I
know. You watched them all.
I did. Yeah, watched them all. Watched all of them on Netflix, even the cheesy ones.
Yes. Yeah, so that's our scary Halloween edition of J2. Halloween! And it might look different in the background because it is. And we'll talk about that more in another video.
Okay.
In another video, in another
But
life.
don't look at my unfolded blankies in the background.
It's because she was watching scary movies before I came over and she got scared.
I was not.
You're watching paranormal something.
Well, I was trying to catch myself up on these stories again because I forgot how they all went.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, it's been real.
It's been fun.
But that's it.
And we're done.
Bye.
Okay,
Bye. Bye. Spooky, scary.